playing career in the Eastern Fraser Valley, and of course was a great youth sports player as well. Abbotsford Traditional Titans went 20-6 this year. That was good for second place in the Eastern Valley. Their twin sisters, Janice and Tanish Saran, grade 11s, have been really huge for that team this year. Karan Dillon as well. She's the only senior starter on this team, and she's a post player. So it's a talented group that knows each other well. And I mean, I think for an opening 8 versus 9, it looks like the numbers tell the story here in terms of what we're going to get in terms of a really competitive game on the first day. All right, so that's our first quadrant. We're going to move down now, talk about our number 4 seed, and our number 4 team is Holy Cross in this tournament. Yeah, right out of Surrey, South Fraser champions. Joe Vinluan, the head coach there. This team played a really tough schedule. They went 19-7. They were undefeated in their league and their playoffs. So you look at what they did through their tournament games and all the other stuff that they did to prepare for the games down the stretch, and they just answered the bell right down the stretch. Their 3 key players. Amy Rokosh is a senior, just consistent on both sides of the ball, is their team leader. Isla Iannuzzi, only a grade 9 player, the leading scorer on that team, and people talk about her as a real kind of a rising star in BC Girls High School basketball. And Samantha Isidro, another senior, really a lead by example kind of a player. So a really great core group there for head coach Joe. And I think really deserving out of a tough zone, winning their zone championship and getting a really good seed there, number 4. Absolutely. Holy Cross playing a lot of 3A and 4A teams throughout the year. And we just saw on the screen, obviously, some great battles here at the Catholic Championship. So they've already had that opportunity to be here at the Langley Event Center this year. Their first round matchup is Abbotsford Christian, the number 13 seed. Yeah, Vince Van Dyke, who's a absolute veteran at this kind of stuff and knows what he needs to do to prepare his teams. Abbotsford Christian, 15-12 overall, played a very tough schedule, 5-2 in the league. So, you know what, tested the whole way through, but a lot of balance in this team. And I think this group comes with hearing a lot about, the better Abbotsford Christian teams of the past. And they haven't been here since 2014. So that's a bit of a break in between for them. I think they're going to be nice and hungry. They're going to love the atmosphere here at the LEC come next Wednesday. All right, another school with a long basketball tradition is our 5 seeds. That's St. Thomas More Collegiate. Talk a little bit about them. Yeah, Cassie Luang is the head coach there. They're the Fraser North champions, 20-5 season. So clearly, you know what, they just had a terrific year, and they come in here as a number 5 seed, as you said. D'Amica Arnaldo is only in grade 9. She's a point guard leading that offense, and that's not an easy position to step to at a young age like that. She works well with a couple of seniors on this team, and I hope I pronounced this right. It's Kira Anagnostu, a grade 12 guard forward who's just a terrific 3-point shooter. Ava Giovinazzo, another senior. They call her the heartbeat of the team. She doesn't fill the stat sheet, but a tough defender and rebounder. Really, I think, propels as the heart and soul of their defense. So, they're here quite often, and they were here in 2022. I think they're going to do quite well. And again, we see that great kind of pedigree coming in as a zone champion out of the Fraser North. But going against the 12 seed, who also is no shy to being in the basketball championships, right? That's Brentwood College. Yeah, and you know what? This team, late to start, the multi-sport stuff at a smaller school, they double up, and Brentwood College, a lot of volleyball players. They went to volleyball provincials, had to, kind of get back into the groove, and I think they've gotten there now for their head coach, Jillian Napier, second on the island, 14-6 record. The co-captains here, Miranda Navarro Perez and Jensen Napier Ganley, have played together for 7 years. Jensa is actually committed to SFU for soccer, so that's that dual sport we're talking about. Kiona Williams is the rookie grade 8 point guard, one to watch for the future, and also Ruby McDougald and Peyton Harker. So nice strong group coming together. We'll see how Brentwood College does, but they've got a tough opening round matchup. All right, so there you go. There's our first half of the 2A draw. Going to turn our attention to the other side, and our number 2 seed is another very familiar name, a powerhouse in 2A basketball. That's Langley Christian. Yeah, they really are. I mean, 21-6. Look at those 6 losses, Chris. They played every single tough tournament you could be in. They were right there. Yeah. And despite being a 2A team, they don't look at tiering. They just play the best teams, and that's why they're so ready to go at this time of the year. Danielle Gardner, obviously, continues to do a terrific job. Whatever tier they've been at, they've contended for provincial titles. Eastern Valley champions this year. Colette Vanderhoven's had a great year. Of course, they won the whole thing in 2022, right? I think the neat story here is Grace Bradshaw, and we saw her at the TBI. Had to play with a brace, the torn ACL. There was so much for her to do to get back with this group, following in the footsteps, in a basketball family, getting in and becoming the player I think everybody knew she could be for this team. So Grace Bradshaw has been one of those real inspirational stories this year, and a real leader for Langley Christian.
And Langley Christian, of course, on their first round matchup, they get number 15 from the island, Lambert Park.
Yeah, and Gary Baker's been coaching that team for a long time. Lambert Park was also here at TBI, so we got a chance to see them. It's a really young team for Coach Baker. They were number 3 on the island. A very young roster, just 2 seniors, 3 grade 10s and a grade 9. But it's the 4th straight year they've been here. So the program's continuing to do well, and you know what? They line up against a terrific basketball team on the first day, and they're going to have to bring the effort of their season. But just congratulations to get here as Vancouver Island number 3 to Lambert Park.
Okay, the other 2 teams in this quadrant now to look at. Number 7, coming out of Richmond, A.R. McNeil.
A.R. McNeil, coached by Justin DePay, second in the Fraser Valley. Wow, some really big time scores here in a couple of their players, and you look at their numbers and your eyes pop up for a second. Kim Tiu, the senior, 5'4", 28.5 points and 8.3 rebounds per game. And Shyla Rasul as well, another senior at 5'10", averaging just over 27 points and 12 rebounds a game. So those are big totals.
And Shyla's actually going, I think, for soccer. I think she's a soccer player, heading off to playing Div 1 soccer at New Mexico State.
You got that right, yeah.
New Mexico State next fall. McNeil, they were here last year. It got to the tournament. They have to battle against McMath in that tough Richmond league, and so good to see them back here in the 2A draw. In their first round matchup, they go up against number 10, Fernie. And
Fernie, as we're noted here, actually played at 1A last season and got here and went to the Final Four and finished 3rd in 1A, well, actually not here, but in 1A. So they've stepped up for head coach Jen Kennedy to a new level, a new tier this year. They were the Kootenai champs, and the players to watch there, Casey Fasselt, Katie Anderson, and Summer Mashoot. And yeah, they're here at 2A, and we'll see how they do, because they as well have a tough matchup against McNeil in that first round.
Our number 3 seed in the tournament, they're Pacific Christian.
Pacific Christian, the team coached by John and Jen Stewart, the Vancouver Island champions for the 3rd time in 7 years. This team, I should start here first. The team has 3 sets of sisters. 2 sets are twins. And that makes up half the team.
Half the team is family.
And kudos to Gary Ahuja, who actually helped research some of this information. Pacific Christian is going to come in with a true family feel, Chris. I don't think you can beat that, right?
No.
That's going to be great. Some of the players to watch there, Joalia Tupa Singh in grade 12, Eden Kremler as well, a grade 12 player, Abby Ellison, and Akielena Tupa Singh, a grade 9. So there's obviously in the Tupa Singh, the sisters there, and boy, it's going to be fun watching a team where half the team are sets of sisters.
And Pacific Christian on that first day gets the number 14 seed, and that's St. Pat's.
St. Pat's battled this year. First time at the provincials in 32 years for the girls program. So don't you love these?
That's so great.
We've got a couple of these that are going to come up this year in the other tiers that'll blow your mind. But that's what has been great about having these added tiers, the extra tier, providing extra opportunity, and you start to see schools that have never been there actually get there. So, yeah, that's going to be great to see. 3rd place in the Vancouver Sea to Sky. Kirsten Alejado in grade 12 was one of their top players at 10 points a game. Ira Santos, the grade 11, led them at 18 a game. And Maddie Fitzmaurice, a grade 11 as well, had averaged a double-double at 10 and 12 this season for St. Pat's, who are going to have fun going to the big dance for the first time in 32 years.
All right, now our final 2 teams here on in the 2A championship draw. Our number 6 seed is Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame, Tracy Clark, the veteran head coach, 2nd in the Vancouver Sea to Sky. So that'll be interesting there. Mason Gilfonia, I hope I pronounced that right, at 18 points a game. The engine of the team, so effective in creating the scoring opportunities for her group. And as well, Taylor Kagabpan is a defensive specialist on this team. Caitlin Chan as well is one of those players who always gives her best to this group, and I think she really adds some quickness and some solid shooting to them. Third straight appearance at the provincials, only 3 seniors on the roster. So a young team here for Coach Clark as they come in at 23-7.
And they go up against Pacific Academy on that first day.
Yeah, Pacific Academy, they played the majority of their season with 6 players and with no grade 12. So they've kind of had to fight and scrap for everything they've gotten. Congratulations to Pacific Academy for getting here as the 11 seed. So many built-in challenges, I think, for this team. They beat a lot of very impressive teams this year, including a team like South Delta, ranked number 9 in 4A, able to come through with a win. So for them, I think some real growth throughout the season. And yeah, great to see them here.
All right, so there you have it. That's our 2A draw. And Howie, just when you look at that, is it Mulgrave and everybody else? Is that the story here with 2A?
Yeah, and I think as a defending champion, and the kids going through that, Langley Christian knows what this journey is about on the other side of the draw. And I think clearly you look at this and say it's number 1 and number 2 seeds very clearly defined. They showed it all season long with what they were able to do. Mulgrave, I think you love that kind of potential. They have the group of players that have been together for so long and still only in grade 11. Got those university coaches all peering over each other's shoulders as to who's going to get who. It's a super talented group to get 4 girls like that coming through at one time. And I think Mulgrave, by virtue of their number 1 seed, obviously a favorite to win the tournament. I know Langley Christian is going to battle hard, though.
All right, so there you have it. That's our 2A draw. We're going to just take a couple minutes here, have a little break. We're going to come back and we're going to walk through 3A and 4A as well. So don't go too far, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
It's time to give the people something different. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce what's my definition of success? Listening to what your heart says, standing up for what you know is right while everybody else is tucking their tail between their legs. What's my definition of success? Creating something no one else can. Being brave enough to dream big. Bragging when you're told to just quit. Giving more when you got nothing left. It's a person that'll take a chance on something they were told could never happen. It's a person that can see the bright side through the dark times when there ain't one. It's when someone who ain't never had nothing ain't afraid to walk away from more profit because they'd rather do something that they really love and take the pay cut.
And welcome back. I'm joined again here with Howard Samura, and we've covered the 2A draw, and we're going to turn our attention now to the 3A championships. A couple teams that kind of lived near the top all year. We've had St. Mike's has been there, McMath was there for a while, Abbotsford was there for a while. Those are probably the 3 teams that most people come to mind when they think of who might pull this off this year?
Yeah, I think there's a defined group of 4 there at the top. And I think it's been neat to see when they enter tournaments how they've been so closely matched up. They play against each other.
Yep.
And you get to see that through the course of the season and how these teams are now preparing for each other with an extra level of kind of intelligence involved in the preparation. It really makes for great basketball. I just know from the quarterfinal stage on, this is going to be an exceptional tournament.
Yeah, I think so too. This 3A draw, you have the defending tip team in McMath. And then you've also got the team that won before. We had a COVID year. The winner before that was Abbotsford,
yeah.
Right? And so they're both in this tournament. And you've had St. Mike's, who's just been really playing well as of late, too.
Yeah, they have been. And we'll get to all those teams as soon as you start your reveal, Chris, here. But those are the chief combatants, so to speak. And the players on those teams are so uniquely talented. And it's been incredible to watch. You don't even think of what tier you're watching. You're just watching great basketball.
All right, well, let's start getting to the reveal then. Our first team that we're going to reveal is that number 1 seed, and that's St. Michael's University School.
Yeah, what a school, what a program that's been, and the way they've developed their their junior program just really took off last season. And they were ranked number 1 as juniors last season for the majority of the way. And a lot of those players have now come forward. And you put all these players together, and you just get this terrific team. I've loved watching them play because they're so gutsy and they just compete physically. 24-8 on the season. They defeated Mark Isfeld 79-36 in the Vancouver Island final. So a clear winner there. McKenna Anderson is a terrific forward, 6'1", a senior there, averaging 21.8 points and 8 rebounds. Inside out, right to the 3-point line, is going to play for the Victoria Vikes next year. And then you look at a couple of other players on this team. Avery Geddes, the grade 10 point guard at 5'7", averaging 13 a game. But the numbers don't tell the story with her. She's in command of her team at such a young age. Just a terrific player. And Chioma Dura as well, 5'11", grade 11 forward. 6.6 rebounds. The games I've seen her play, she's been way more important than those numbers would suggest because she's a physical force. And she just does so many great things for that team. The one last thing I'll say about this team, you talked about their ability to play all different styles of basketball and how athletic they are. 4 seniors are all multi-sport athletes at the next level. So McKenna Anderson will play basketball at Victoria. Sophie Olsen will play soccer for the Vikes. Amanda Adams is a field hockey player going to UVic. And Sky Farish is going to UBC to play rugby. Those players are all part of that rotation. I just love this multi-sport aspect that team brings, and I think that they play the full 40 minutes.
All right,
yeah.
and so St. Mike's on that first day, they go up against number 16, WL Seton.
Seton, the Sonics out of Vernon, they are in tough. Obviously, St. Mike's is a great team, but Chris Colclough has done a good job with this team. They came out of that Okanagan zone, which has actually 4 teams in this tournament. So a quarter of the draw is from the Thompson Okanagan. They were the number 4 team, and they had to battle and scrap through some very tough competition in their own league just to get here. Lost 68-67 to Sahali, who we'll talk about in a bit in the zone semifinal. Their top players are Everly Colclough, a 6'1" forward averaging 15 a game, Naomi King, a senior guard at 13 a game, and Aliyah Ooch, a 5'4" grade 9 guard who's a double-figure scorer as well. That trio combined for 11 threes and 70 points when they beat Valley View in the game that qualified them here. So they come with their own credentials. They're going to have to play the game of their season to compete against St. Mike's, but I think they're going to bring a great effort.
They will, but they're not a typical 16 seed because if they lose that semifinal game by 1 point, that game goes the other way, and they might be a top 8 or 9 team here. Just that difference, because when that a basket can make and where you end up seated, that they're a very solid team that coming in.
And that's what I say. Like with 4 teams of that quality from the one zone making it in, they battled each other all year and they went to tournaments. I think there's a battle-tested thing that people might not understand when you come in with a lower seed, but you've had that kind of an experience during your season.
All right, let's turn our attention to the other part of this quadrant and our number 8 seed, Little Flower Academy.
Little Flower Academy, the Angels, 17-6. They won Sea to Sky for head coach Chris Ramirez. Chris stepped in for Carly Paxton this year, and Carly is on maternity leave, just had a baby. So, congratulations to her and Little Flower's basketball program. Continued to, do their best with their full-time coach, not their coach Ramirez stepping in, and they defeated Argyle 60-55 in the zone final. I also thought it was interesting. They didn't have a senior team last year.
Right.
And there was the COVID season was the year before that one, right?
Yep.
Am I not correct? So
Yep.
that's 2 seasons,
2 seasons without
of not
senior-
having a team,
senior
and
basketball.
boom, they won.
They win the
zone.
Sea to Sky zone this
I
year.
mean, that's impressive, right? So their juniors had a good season last year. They finished 4th in BC. They've moved them up, and everyone has bought in and believed here. Claire Juka is a grade 11 forward at 5'9". 20 points and 10 rebounds a game with 5 steals has really been huge for them this year. Bella Heffring, grade 11, a 5'6" shooting guard, 22 a game. And Riley Tsui, a grade 10, averaging 10 points and 6 assists, is their point guard. Be fun to see how they play based on everything. That is an extremely rare thing to have. To not have a senior
team, and then win your zone championships the year after that. That might be a first. We'd have to go back in the books,
Yeah,
but I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting one to watch, and I think every year just expect anything to happen, Chris, because there's so many crazy things that can happen, and kids are playing basketball so well these days. Great to see.
Little Flower Academy goes up against one of these schools that has a rich girls basketball tradition, stretching back, decades, and that's Maple Ridge.
Yeah, but I think we should also say for head coach Jason Hampton, who's just done an incredible job of bringing this program back, is that they were without a program for a couple of years, right? And they have not been here for 8 years. They were part of TBI's kind of Rising Eights group, these programs that we brought in that we thought could really make an impact. And they certainly made an impact. They beat Pitt Meadow 61-41 in the Fraser North final. They had lost to that same team by 20 at the start of the year, so showed some really nice improvement there. Jenna Hampton, the guard, has had a great season. So has Ambrose Haints, a grade 10 guard as well. Kaylee Mark, who we just saw on the highlights there, 6'1" post U15 provincial team player last spring, leading scorer on their team, tremendously soft hands to score inside. She's an up-and-comer and a player to watch, I think, in our province among the bigs as a real talent. So Maple Ridge had a 19-5 season. I think they'll be ready. That's going to be a terrific basketball game.
That is a very good one on that first day. That's our first quadrant. Now we move down and we look at our number 4 seed, and that back to that tough Okanagan zone in South Kamloops.
And when you say tough, we talked about St. Mike's being a tough team. This South Kamloops team, Del Komarniski coaching, they're going to be tough.
They're going to be tough when he
Oh my goodness.
them, right?
I saw them at my tournament and at the top 10, and they were ready to play. Just so physically relentless. And I think that's exemplified in their grade 11 standout, Kiana Kutzer, the point guard. She is as tough as nails, and she's just. There's something about her when I watch her play that reminds me of Diego Mafia playing for Oak Bay. There's just a certain kind of. You might not pick her up in the layout line as being the player to watch, but when the game starts, you know that she's a player.
Yeah.
Very, very fun to watch her. Lucy Marchesi as well, the MVP of the Okanagans. Kylie Koppis, who was the top defensive player at the Okanagans as well. And Grace McDonald, their one senior who plays a lot, is committed to Thompson Rivers next year. All for head coach Del Komarniski, South Kamloops. Hey, number 4 seed, got to be a good team, and they are.
And they go up against Clayton Heights, which is kind of a neat story, them coming back to the tournament.
It is. First Clayton Heights team in 20 years. They got here in 2003 as a AA team.
Wow.
And you know what? I don't think it's any fluke that when James Johnson is behind the team, he's able to kind of get a spark going with a group of kids. This guy's coached at North Delta, Seaquam, and South Delta. I know him well. He coached my own son. Well, did I bang the mic there? At Seaquam. Getting a little excited. But James Johnson, a great program builder, and I think he's done a great job here with these Clayton Heights Riders. South Fraser, number 2. Emma Yarwood is their 6'3" post, a grade 11 player, 22 points, 13 rebounds, 4 blocks a game, has just been terrific. Melanie Cardos Mitchell as well, a senior, averaging 18 points a game. And Sydney Chason, 5'6" point guard, averaging 12 a game. You know what? This is a basketball junkie, Sydney Chason. She was working the minor officials table at the TBI in between playing her games. She was scorekeeping, doing all this kind of stuff. I love that when a player loves to be around the game. So kind of cool to see. And the Clayton Heights Riders, shout out, wearing pink, and they're at their draw party on Anti-Bullying Day. They wanted to do that. They even said to us, if you want to do a live hit, we're available. So maybe next year, if they're back in the dance, we'll head out there with live cameras.
Well, if they're out there or anybody else out there right now, you go to Twitter, you tweet at Howard Samura or Chris Kennedy. We'll retweet you as soon as we get off the air. We'll retweet you and push it out there. Show us where you're at and where you're at as you see who you play in that first round matchup. All right, so we got two more teams on this side of the draw. Our number 5 seed, the runner-up in last year's tournament, MEI.
What a game that was. I mean, I can still remember the game, the McMath MEI final, and how close that was, and what a great team Rick Thiessen put together last season. And a tribute again to another great coach. Rick Thiessen lost so many top players from that team of last season. Jasmine Avila, McKenna Reimer, all these great players that were a whole massive core of seniors left. Bree Neufeld is really the only kind of main rotation player back. She was their 6th player last year. She was not counted on to score. She had to this year. She averages 19.5 and 10 rebounds a game. She scored 40 against Sahali. I mean, she had to step up into a big role for the MEI Eagles. She did that. Ava Dreger, tenacious on the defensive end, and Callie Strachan as well, a post who plays physical defense. Completely reinvented MEI. Great to see them back. And that's what the great programs do, right? Even when they go through their graduation heavy tolls the season before they reload.
Yeah. They don't rebuild.
That's
right.
That's exactly it.
And they go up against the number 12 seed Vernon on day 1.
And you talk about always being there, right? I mean, this number continues, Chris. And I'm 18 straight BC trips for Vernon. 18.
Wow.
That's like almost going to be like on a generation straight pretty soon. 8 seniors were either toddlers or not even born on this team the first time they started the string here. So that's great to see. Maddie Hackman is their main scorer, a 6'1" senior post. These are all grade 12s. Beth Butler, gritty on the defensive end. Lauren Horde, a 6'1" rebounding forward. And Amy Curtis really working hard to come back and become their 6th player. So really great job for Vernon. They're always there. If you're going to kind of give a gold medal to teams that are always kind of there, the MEI Vernon one is not a bad place to start when you look at it.
Absolutely. They've been here this tournament an awful lot. All right, that's the first side of the draw, and we're going to turn now to the other side, and their number 2 team. And just before we went on the air, you were just telling me how tough you thought St. Michael's University School was, and what I responded to you, and I said, you know who I think's real tough right now, and that's Abbey Secondary. Coach Lenz has that team playing tough.
My goodness, does he ever? And I just can't picture an Abbotsford team under Prentice that wasn't playing with that real hard-nosed style. But I completely agree with you. They went perfect in their league. They were 8-0 in league with wins over Walnut, Yale, and they also beat Burnaby Central this year. Just beat MEI in the Eastern Valley final, and just really, really solid team. Lost at the 4A round 2, 94-51. To Terry Fox, and that was Terry Fox on the way to winning the BC Championship last year. Everyone knows Malia Lenz, the senior, 5'10", 30 points, 10 rebounds a game, headed to the University of Vermont. She was the MVP at the Eastern Valleys, the Big Ticket, the Bateman, and the Heritage Woods tournaments. Naya Vermeulen, 20 and 10 with 3 blocks a game, 6'2" senior forward, and Chelsea Dulku at 6'1", and Naomi Unger as well, also seniors, right? So a lot of experience there. Really know what it takes to win at this tournament.
All right, and so Abbey on day 1, they go up against Mark Isfeld, the Ice.
The Ice, who haven't been here since 2020, and they were also, that was as a 3A program, of course, from Courtney. 22-4, Craig Follis and Colin Tinga, the latter, able to help me with some information because this is one of these backdoor qualifiers from yesterday. 63-50, they win over Brookswood to get into this tournament yesterday. Some names to mention here are Raina Hagel, averaging 11 a game. Adria Russell, 14 a game. Caitlin Follis and Michaela Volkers, a 10th grader, averaging 10 points a game. And that win over Brookswood, those 4 combined for 52 of the 63 points. So that's a real solid core for Isfeld as they get the real tough matchup, the 15-2 against the Panthers.
All right, the rest of this quadrant now to look at, our number 7 seed is College Heights, the Cougars.
Yeah, College Heights was here at TBI, so we got a really good chance to look at that team. Wade Lukes is the head coach, of course, played for 5 seasons with the Victoria Vikes, won the 2 national championships there in 85 and 86. They've returned 7 players from the 2022 team that finished 5th. And so there's a real experience factor built into this team. They didn't get challenged in the North Central. They didn't have a zone. They were the only team. And so they just qualified on the North Central, but they were 20-4 overall on the season. And Rachel Lukes, his daughter, is such a special player. 23 points, 6 steals a game, 5'11" guard. She'll join the Simon Fraser Red Leafs next year, and she is a tremendous, she's a kind of player that I could just stand in the gym and just watch all day. Just plays with huge intensity from start to finish. Lauren Caceres as well, 16 points, 6 assists a game, a 5'6" grade 10 guard who was on the under 15 provincial team. And Temi Bankole, a 5'8" grade 11 guard who's averaging 10 rebounds a game. So College Heights knew they had to travel, they had to get used to the rigors. TBI, the Sahali, the Tessa, they played all these tournaments this year to get ready. They mean business and well deserving of the number 7 seed.
Yeah, this game, the 7-10 game, is I think my favorite 3A game of the day because they go up against, talk about another team who's always well tested.
Yeah.
They've played every good team in the province. They go up against Argyle day one.
Yeah, and Argyle shied away from nobody. They were in tough tournaments from start to finish, and just the whole process for Anthony Beiruti, grow this team chemistry-wise, grow their will, grow their competitive nature, everything. Just get them ready for this week that's coming up, and I think they've done a really good job of that. They did lose to LFA by 5 in the zone final, but they got an unbelievable year from Natalie Francis, the younger sister of Gabby Francis, who's with Carleton. Natalie this year, 30 points, 16 rebounds, 8 blocks a game, 6'2" grade 11, an absolute force. Braylee Adrian, 5'9" grade 11 guard. Reese Tam, transferred in from Collingwood and has really been kind of a surprise player for that team. 5'5" point guard, just a tremendous player. You'll enjoy watching her. And Alex Danks as well. Real talented grade 11 group. Like they're next year
team.
But what a huge thing this is this year, and just they're going to get what they can out of this year for sure.
Absolutely. They were loaded at junior and below too. Argyle is a program on the rise for definitely the next couple of seasons. Interesting that we haven't talked about the defending champs until we get to the number 3 seed. They return almost everybody off that team, but here they are at the 3 seed, and that's R.A. McMath.
Yeah, but just as we said right off the top as a preface, just an indication of what SMU and Abbotsford are bringing this year to make this tier such an incredibly competitive group, right? So McMath is going to be as good or better than they're going to be tremendous. They were 22-6 on the season. They were 10-0 in league. As you said, defending AAA champs. Their only loss to a top 10 AAA team this year was Abbotsford at the Centennial Top 10 tournament. And I watched that game, and it was an incredible game. Was that an overtime game? It was an absolute barn burner right to the end. And Marina Radikai in that game was out of this world. She had 47 in that game, just scored every way imaginable, showed the will and the guts that she has as a player. 6'2" guard forward. She averaged 25 and 20 this season. So, and she's off to Arizona State next year, of course, in the Pac-12. So what an incredible player and a shot blocker. To watch her change the trajectory of shots and protect the rim, so fun to see. Caitlin Kippen at 5'11" was the Richmond playoff MVP, 20 points, 12 rebounds a game. And Aria Johal as well, the 5' grade 11 point guard, a double-double at 10 points and 12 assists a game. And Ann Gilry-Carr, who I know you know so well, wow. And to be in her presence every time she comes on the court and comes over to say hi. She's now in her 45th year as part of that staff.
I think one of those unique stats is that she's taken teams to the Final Four in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and then the 2020s. And she was, back after joining Coach Kippen and winning the championships last year. They're back here again this year as well.
That's loving the game, isn't it? Boy, that's something to see.
All right, R.A. McMath on that first day, they get the Jokers from John Oliver.
Yeah, Pat Lee is, he continues to do great work with that John Oliver program. And they had to go backdoor to, win this thing. And they came through with a big win over Pitt Meadows yesterday to get that last seed, 16-8 on the season, and really have done a terrific job this year. They're largely senior driven. Queenie Salazar, who we've mentioned a lot in terms of being a terrific scoring guard at 5'4", 16 points per game. She hit 8 threes in the city finals. Donna Pimentel hit 7 threes yesterday against Pitt Meadows. And I think she finished with 28 in that victory. When they're shooting, they can just get red hot. Rachel Forrester as well, a 5'8" guard, 14 points, 11 rebounds a game. And Talia Smith, 8 points, 11 rebounds per game. She had 29 boards against Notre Dame earlier this season at just 5'9". So this is a hungry, scrapping team. that will leave nothing. They'll be prepared and ready to do what they can, but McMath is going to present all kinds of challenges to them.
All right, our final two 3A schools is number 6, Sahali.
Yeah, Sahali Sabres, Jody Vosper, the head coach there, 25-3 on their season. And Vosper has coached this group since the 9th grade. So we talked about 4 teams coming out of Thompson, Okanagan. This is the number 2 team from that zone. You know that they're competitive and battle-tested. Temi Aina, the 5'8" guard forward, senior Kelly Sari, or should we say Sari, apologies there, 5'11", and Hallie Thiessen as well at 5'11", are the senior trio that I think is going to really trigger what Sahali does. And the Sabres have been good all year. Last year they lost 61-46 to the silver medalist MEI in round 2, but those kids are all back this year.
All right, and they go up against Robert Bateman, the 11 seed.
Yeah, Bateman defeated Brookswood 56-35 in the 3rd place game at the Eastern Valleys to clinch. They're 15-15, so you know what? They took their share of hits for head coach Matt Keese along the way here. People look at this group as a late blooming group, and I think they bring a lot of good things to the table here. Eshna Gill, their 5'5" grade 10 point guard, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists a game. Bria Zbicki, ACL last year before the playoffs knocked her right out of the provincials, and now she's worked hard and she's back, and she averaged 12 points and 12 rebounds a game in her senior season. So take your hat off to the kids, the seniors who have to battle just to get back and can get to the provincials. I think that's really significant. And Erin Missoura as well, the 5'11", grade 11 forward, averaging 15 points and 9 rebounds a game for the Bateman Timberwolves of Abbotsford.
All right, there you have it. There is our 3A girls championship draw. And as we walk through this, a lot of these teams have a lot of girls back from last year, and that they were here last year, and they're coming back with 5, 7, 9 of their players return. They're a little bit older, I think, our teams in this year's tournament than last year's. Looks like it should be a really competitive tourney.
I think so, and it's really interesting. As I was preparing informationally, just talking to coaches, that's the trend, and that's the number one trend I saw was the amount of great grade 11s.
Yeah.
What is next year going to be like? It's going to be unbelievable. Yet these players have already elevated or have been the key reasons that their teams are going to be at the LEC starting on Wednesday. So. Just great all around for their development, I think.
All right, so there you have it. St. Michael's University, the number 1, Abbotsford number 2, McMath number 3, and there's your full draw for opening round of the 3A girls. And so we're through the 1A. We talked 2A. We talked 3A. We're going to turn.
We got to drink water too.
You need to drink water, and then we're going to turn our attention to the 4A championships. And I think the 4A championships. I think we all kind of thought the direction it was going. It was Walnut Grove and Riverside, or it was Riverside and Walnut Grove throughout the season, and there were some other side stories along the way. But that's kind of got upended in the last couple of weeks, hasn't it?
It has by a very interesting Fraser North final for starters, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's an interesting group of teams that are, and it is interesting when you look at the who beat who's throughout the course of the season, and you can do that and just go on forever. I think there is some impact. There's enough clues there to say that nothing is a lock heading into this 4A final, and that if the basketball god said there's going to be an upset this year, it's not going to be as huge an upset as people might think, just based on some of these results, and we'll get to those teams as you start the reveal.
All right, so let's look at our 4A draw, and like with the others, we're going to start with our number 1 team, number 1 seed in the tournament, Walnut Grove.
Wow, Walnut Grove, the Gators, 29-4. As you said, in the shadows, for much of the season, right? Number 2 ranked, kind of sitting just outside contention. Yet you'd watch them play and you'd see all these things happen. And you'll see her right there on the screen. I mean, I don't know what more you can say about Kiara Pemberton. I never saw Cheryl Kelsey play,
right?
But I kind of wonder, is that kind of what this is? This unstoppable force of nature for Walnut Grove. I mean, the numbers are just incredible. 47 points and 12 rebounds a game while shooting 62% from the field. It's more than generational, I think, just in terms of how often you might see something this dominant come along.
The chance of her breaking the scoring record seems pretty high here at the tournament, don't you think?
I think so. And when she set the single game scoring record, last year in the last game on the Saturday at the tournament? I mean, all signs were present that this grade 11, who was going to be even better, and is headed to North Dakota next year to begin her collegiate career, is just going to be this. I mean, I guess you kind of got to say, for most, it can be a once-in-a-lifetime player. I mean, I've been covering this for 40 years, and she's the most dominant scorer I think I've seen. I'm trying to think, and every time I say something, I get 50 emails back the other way telling me I'm wrong. So I just don't want to be wrong, but I can't think, at least on the girls' side, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen anything like it.
I've talked to a couple of the coaches in the tournament this week, and there's sort of two competing strategies. Do you let her score 50 and then hope that the other girls don't hit shots around her? Or do you put two girls on her and try to hold her to 20 and then dare their other shooters? Because to say she's dominant, but as you know, they've got a couple other players.
They do.
They got some. See, she has a nice supporting cast as well.
Well, I mean, a three-point shooter like Tia Rowell,
right,
is just tremendous, and they're bringing other role players along. Throughout the course of the season, I think it's easy for those who are not looked upon as scorers to really hungrily embrace a role on this team. When you see what Kiera Pemberton is capable of doing, how could you not want to learn your craft or whatever you can do to help your team better? And I think they've seen that with a player like Kiana Nodal, Abby Adams. These are players that come in and they are they're absolutely part of the main rotation, and they help her do what she does best.
Day one, Walnut Grove goes up against Mount Baker.
Mount Baker out of Cranbrook, the Kootenays, an automatic qualification for El Natini. They didn't play last season as well. I know they get the automatic out of the Kootenays, but basically they brought this team together for the first time in 2 years after the COVID season to get back this year, and they've played in Southern Alberta basically the entire season. They just lost to the number 3 ranked team in AAA, Strathmore, at a recent tournament in Calgary, lost by 11. I don't know what kind of barometer that is for where they're going to be, but look at a player like Shar Harpel, 14 points, 5 steals a game, a senior 5'4" guard, and Kalissa Hain, 5'10", grade 10 post, 18 and 10. Despite an injured shoulder. So those are the two players coming in really having to shoulder a lot, and they're going to get a chance to play against number 1 on opening day at the BCs.
All right, looking now to the rest of that quadrant, a team that's kind of been in the top 10 all year, another really solid team coming out of the Vancouver Sea to Sky, our 8th seed, Sir Winston Churchill. Yeah,
Winston Churchill, last year in the quarterfinals, they went out by 8. They lost to Walnut Grove 88-79 in the quarterfinals, and still went. I think they went on to finish 5th overall. Simon Dykstra, another one of those real veteran head coaches. Player to watch here, Stephanie Hart, the senior, averaging 22 points, 10 rebounds a game as well. The grade 11, Louise Dykstra, 6'1" forward, 17 points, 10 rebounds. And really discovering, I think, this point guard who is going to be kind of the engine room of their team is something Coach Dykstra really wanted to find. By midseason, I think he was pretty sure Emily Zhang at 5'6", 18 points, 4 assists a game is what he needed at point guard. I think it's really started to come together for them. As I think as many would say, they've outperformed, I think, what people thought they could do to get back in the situation. They lost a lot of talent from the season before, and they still came through as the Sea to Sky champs here.
All right, and they go up against Claremont on day 1.
Yeah, and Claremont, interesting when you see 2 zone champions in an 8 and 9.
Yeah.
And that makes it interesting because this is the Vancouver Island champion Claremont team here. They defeated Reynolds 75 to 68 in the Island final. Last year, losing in round 1, 92-32 to Riverside. I think they've come a long way since then. Adia Pai, a national level rugby player, has been their go-to player the whole season. 5'5", grade 12 guard, averages 26 points a game. I think she had averaged 31 points at the Island Championships. And the 2 younger players, Iva Calabrick, 5'11" forward, at 13 a game, in grade 10 guard Karis Clark as well, 10 points, 4 assists a game. They lost their number 2 scorer to an ACL injury, Sierra Lease, 16 points, 8 rebounds a game in January. So they've had to scramble a bit. So good coaching and really pulling together brings them to what is going to be a terrific game there at 10:15 a.m., 8 versus 9.
All right, our number 4 seed, one of the hottest teams, I think, coming into the tournament, and that's the Yale Lions.
Yeah, I mean, they lost by 5 to Walnut Grove in the final, and that's I think all comes from playing in the same league. Bobby Braich, a great coach, Darren Rowell at Walnut Grove, chess match happening, close game. They've played each other so many times. So a 5-point loss to Walnut in the East Valley final. They beat Walnut Grove 88-87 in overtime earlier this season. So they can do it. That's a really, really talented team. And if there's going to be an underdog team that gets hot and people go, where did they come from? We didn't know they were that kind of a team. I think Yale, the teams that ranked above them are darn good, but so are they, right? Maggie Curtis at 14 a game, Jay Hildebrand 10.1, and Samara Mason at 9.8. They're the three seniors that are really the ones that get it going for this team. Losing 75-53 to Okanagan Mission in round 2 last year. So ready to, I think, go beyond that this year.
And they go up against one of those teams that just made it last night. They're one of our into the tournament in the backdoor game and in the qualifying, and that's Charles Best.
Yeah, and Craig Percival, the head coach there, did a really good job. 23-12 in the season. So of the 12 losses, 10 of those losses came two to Abbotsford, 2 to Riverside, 2 to Burnaby Central, 2 to Heritage Woods, 1 to Yale, and 1 to Walnut Grove. So they shied away from nothing, and that's the benefit that you get is, you come in as a seed, you might be not a favorite in your opening round game, as they are not here, but I think they're battle tested enough to know what they have to do to play at their best. Avon Jahangiri, I know I didn't do that right. I'm sorry. 8.6 points per game, a 6-foot forward. Jessica Parkinson at 16 points and 9.4 rebounds, a 6-foot guard forward in grade 10. And Denise Mendoza at 15.3 points, a grade 11 5'8" guard. They're the three, I think, top players on that Blue Devils team.
All right, let's finish this quadrant off in this side of the draw. We've talked about some maturing teams. Here's a really young team. They're going to be here probably for a couple more years.
Wow.
We saw them at junior, and now here they are at senior, and that's Seacom.
Yeah, and they, of course, won the junior championship last year. Were battling with St. Mike's for most of the year at junior, and that group moved in, and there were some existing senior returning players on that team. Their South Fraser MVP, Nisa Sooner, the senior, the 5'9" guard, is one of the best three-point shooters in the province. She's a huge key to that team. They've got a couple of really talented grade 10s in Sydney Rufus at 6'3" and Neelam Sidhu at 6 foot. And then there's the junior MVP in 2022 as a grade 8, Sierra Tour, the 5'5" guard. And then the grade 9s as well. There's Callie Brost and Cameron Tate. Cameron Tate is Brian Tate's daughter. Just a super young team.
Lucky Tour is going to be here for a few years, isn't he?
I think so. And of note, last year's BC Junior Defensive MVP, Priya Tour, lost for the season with an ACL. One of the Tour sisters didn't even play this season. She's going to come back strong next year. And so that's the kind of level of talent Seacom has. Lucky Tour's team beat South Delta 104-65 in the 4A South Fraser final.
Day one, they go up against the 12 seed, and that is Reynolds, the Roadrunners from Victoria.
Yeah, and it was really fun communicating with Kim Graves, the head coach. Kim Graves, of course, is Kim Johnson, former 2-time national champion with the Victoria Vikes women's team. The dad, Brendan Graves, who we all know as one of the great high school players and went on to a great college career as well. Reynolds was 19-9 this season. They have not been to the BCs since 1983.
Wow.
Think about that one. Another long one finally is solved here. Isabella Graves, 6'1" forward, 22-12, a grade 11 player. Sage Parfit, the grade 10, 5'10" forward, averages 29 points a game. She's their leading scorer. And Skylar Lubin, a grade 11, 6-foot guard, averaging 16 points. It's going to be fun watching them.
Great to see school. 40 years. Hey, that's amazing. Great to have them back in the tournament.
Great to have them back.
All right, our 2 seed, the Wildcats from Burnaby Central. How about it, eh?
Yeah, isn't that something? I don't know how many people expected that. I mean, they've been on the rise for a couple of years, and everybody knows what Jade Wynn has done, the UBC-bound point guard, averaging 7.5 assists a game, almost 16 points a game. She's been tremendous, and I think she's kind of not only the glue of this team, but she's the player leading Burnaby Central kind of out of the darkness into this provincial spotlight. And she's just been tremendous, just completely selfless player who, really gets her team going. And Kita Chopra, 5'11", grade 11 guard, 15.3 points per game. And Vobia Kalame, 5'10", grade 11 guard, has been terrific as well. They were terrific, and I watched their game on video when they beat Riverside, and to watch the way they shot the ball. Defensively, they're just always dialed in, but when that aspect of their game is going, Chris, they look unstoppable. I think it can intimidate teams the way they shoot the three. Like, it just comes so rapid fire. So, they want to bring that shooting stroke from their perspective into the LEC, and I think that can carry them a long way.
All right, and going against them in that last game of the night on South Court on that first day is Prince George, the Polars.
Yeah, the Polars. Troy Worrell, the head coach. Prince George hasn't been here since 2016. This is a really, really young team. Only 2 seniors, 3 11s, 4 10s, and a grade 9. Pretty special grade 9 named Parker Rogers. Ashton Rogers, the leading scorer, is one of the seniors, 15 points a game, and Brooke McDonald, a talented grade 10 player. They had to scrap to get here. They beat North Peace from Fort St. John by 1 point just to get here. So congratulations to them.
And the 7-10 game, we get the first of our 2 Kelowna teams who have been battling back and forth all year, and that's Okanagan Mission, the Huskies from them.
Yeah, exactly. From Kelowna, and Megan Faust, the head coach there, 24-8, 10-2 in the league. They lost to Kelowna in the zone final, and I think they also lost 2 in season to Kelowna. So Kelowna's been their kind of Achilles heel this year, but they performed so well, and of course, I think they graduated 7 or 8 players from last season's team that lost to Terry Fox in the Final Four.
Right.
And they were close down the fourth quarter stretch in that game. Kanani Kuhn, a senior, has just been incredible for them. 6'1" guard forward. Is going to UC Santa Barbara next season. 21 points, 9 rebounds a game. Presley Hoff and Faith Hunter, the latter a transfer from Okotoks, Alberta, have come in. They've played very well this season, combined for about 22 points a game. So really, really good there. Asia Borg, who broke her hand back in January, is getting back into the swing of things. And Peyton Friesen, back from a back injury, also the libero on their number 1 ranked volleyball team. So all the pieces, I think, are coming together. Whether Kelowna's style of play flummoxed them or what, I don't know. They couldn't really solve the Owls this season. But other than that, have been a pretty darn good team all season.
All right, in day 1, they go up against the Kodiaks from Heritage Woods.
Yeah, and Andrew Lloyd doing a great job coaching this team. Coach Lloyd had told me that they're all at the home of Caitlin Mean. They're one of their grade 12 captains. So shout out to Heritage Woods. Thanks for joining us here on the broadcast, and congratulations on getting back there, beating Charles Best 49-39 to qualify. So they've had a good season. Izzy Lloyd, the 5'10" point forward, a grade 10 player, 15 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists a game. Caitlin Mean, who we just mentioned, at 14 a game. And Ella Nielsen, a D1 tennis player headed to Gonzaga, of all places. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists for the 5'7" guard. They've been the key players. Andrew Lloyd, a guy who, like James Johnson and other coaches around the province, like Chris Kennedy too. Goes into a program, able to get that change going and get them moving in the right direction.
Well, for people who are watching us now, if you haven't had a chance to read the Steve Ewan story on Coach Lloyd, do yourself a favor and read that about his story about Coach Lloyd and the work there at Heritage Woods. All right, we're down to our final quadrant right now. Number 3 seed, the Riverside Rapids and Coach Langford's crew.
Yeah, boy, that, they have, this is interesting. Last year at this time, Terry Fox had faltered down the stretch a bit, and people wondered, could Terry Fox put it together when it counted at the provincials? Riverside is darn near a similar kind of script because they've struggled a bit down the stretch. Avery Sussex, their leader, their point guard, right now, she's been battling a thumb injury on her shooting hand that's been pretty severe, and she's had the thing taped since before Christmas, I think. And it's really been bothering her, but she's persevered. She has not missed a single game. And she is 23.6 rebounds, 9 assists. Natalie Curley, 14 points and 10 rebounds, 3 blocks a game for the 6'2" senior who's headed to SFU next year. And Georgia Hart, who really had to step up big this year, she had to take on scoring, and she's answered the 5'9" grade 10 at 16 points a game. So that loss to Burnaby Central, I think no one win or loss affected teams more than that one there, just in terms of the final seeding, for this tournament. But Riverside, the team they are, Chris, and what they showed in that final against Terry Fox, if they know that's what's in them, from their perspective, that's their bar. And they need to bring that kind of effort into the provincial tournament.
It does feel like Riverside every year, right? They're hanging around. They're right near it, and this may just be their year this year. They go up against number 14. It's almost like a home court for this team. They're the closest team probably here to the Langley Event Center, RE Mountain.
Well, here's one, and congratulations to head coach Che Williams and company. They were at the TBI in our Langley tournament, and they made the BCs, which was a huge achievement for them. We tried to find out when the last time the Roy E. Mountain Eagles girls made the BC championship. I called Mike Hines behind Greg Lano and Bobby Braich. They called into their network of people. And as far as we can tell, as ex-coach Bruce Ivany, who coached there in the 70s and 80s, we're thinking somewhere probably in the late 70s or early 80s was the last time, but they have been to the BCs before. Certainly not the top-tiered BCs, but they have been before. They beat Panorama Ridge in a backdoor game. Mackenzie Delfond, Shyla On, and Ava Mort. These three seniors are as prodigious a scoring trio as any trio of players you're going to find. I know they weren't playing Walnut Grove and all these top-ranked teams every week, but that group of players, that trio, can score the basketball. And so I think with that, they always have a shooter's chance in any game they go in. They played tremendously throughout the year. The Roy E. Mountain Eagles out of Langley, great job to get back there in more than a couple of generations here, it looks like.
All right, in our final game, in the final tournament that we're previewing here today, our number 6 seed, Kelowna Owls.
Yeah, the Kelowna Owls, we referenced them when we talked about Okanagan Mission, of course, beating the Huskies 75-67. Pete Garashi, who's played everywhere at the highest levels and internationally, is coaching this team. Last year Kelowna came to the tournament, lost in round 1, 79-65 to Claremont. So they mean business this year, really want to get at it. 6 players are averaging double digits in scoring. They're led by their grade 10 guard, Mav Shahal, at 17.6 points per game. Ryan Schutz, 18 points, 14 rebounds at 6'1", and Tenny McCarthy, 13 and 12, a 6'2 player. So they've got size, scoring, they've got it all. Avery King, Sarah Latrico, Emma Pinkerton, also a huge part of what this team is all about. Kelowna, the Okanagan champs, are a really, really good basketball team.
And they go up against the Sun Devils from South Delta.
Yeah, the South Delta Sun Devils, who a couple of years ago, South Delta wasn't even on the map in terms of getting towards a senior girls provincial championship. Sharon Butler, the head coach, I think has done a terrific job there. They beat Lord Tweedsmuir in the South Fraser semifinal to get here. Kaya Rutledge has just been incredible. The grade 11 guard, averaging 25 points and 11 and a half rebounds a game. So she's had 5 40-plus games this season, and she scored 45 in a loss to Siakam at TBI. Kara Denny as well, a 6-foot senior, 12 points and 7 rebounds a game. So they'll be in tough, but they have the talent as well, and Rutledge is just a terrific player to watch.
All right, so there you have it. There's our full 4A draw. And Howard, when you look at it, what's the story? What do you see?
I see as great or as competitive a group of top 4 seeds as you would want, I think. I never think you're going to go in there thinking, oh, the number 4 seed should be the favorite. But I think that there's enough competitiveness from those 4 in each of those 4 quadrants that if the numbers play out and Final Four Friday comes, it's going to be everything and more that fans appreciate from BC girls high school basketball. In any given season, you simply can't ask for anything more than that. And if there's upsets, let them happen.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I know all these teams have been joining us. See who they're playing on day 1. The best thing to do is get out here to the Langley Event Center starting next Wednesday and see the action live. If you can't do that, TFSE TV. Every game is live streamed. You'll probably be doing some commentary on a couple games as we go throughout the week, too.
Yeah, especially the semifinal rounds and the championship finals with Brianne Watson like we normally do. Can't wait to do those on the Saturday. Should be a really fun time. But nothing is better than being in the stands at the LAC to watch this beautiful thing emerge throughout the course of the week.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Thank you for supporting the BC School Sports, BC High School Girls Basketball Championships, and we look forward to seeing you here live at the Langley Event Center next week.
right. It's time to give the people something different. So without further ado, I like to introduce what's my definition of success? Listening to what your heart says. Standing up for what you know is right while everybody else is. Tucking their toe between their legs. What's my definition of success? Creating something no one else can. Being brave enough to dream big. Grinding when you're told to just quit. Giving more when you got nothing left. It's a person that'll take a chance on something they were told could never happen. It's a person that can see the bright side through the dark times when there ain't one. It's when someone who ain't never had nothing ain't afraid to walk away from more profit, cause they'd rather do something that they really love and take the pay cut. It's a